Welcome to the world of Eon, where I'm screencasting from my subterranean stronghold for the first time with Episode 1, World Building from the Ground Up. In the next few minutes, I'll briefly allude to my broader goal, as shown in my daily log. Then dig deep into the nitty-gritty of my first attempt at world building. I hope that those with an interest in the subject will find some of the topics I explore and methods I demonstrate to be both useful and entertaining. I've been at this for a few weeks now, and I feel I've made a good few weeks' progress. Everything I've done so far has been incredibly instructive, but it needs a redo. Nothing structural, just cosmetic. The plot will work as well or better for having a better developed world than the one I was starting with. I can do a degree of spontaneity on demand, but not on a grand scale. My inner bureaucrat needs its rigid structure and slow timetable for getting things done. Along the way to arriving at this decision to redo, I discovered Flashback Express. This seemed like the perfect chance to get it right on the second pass and share what I've learned and come up with along the way. That, and it looks like a fun way to review what I've done and have it on hand if I need to refer back to how I accomplished some task or other along the way. Leave it to me to be so forgetful that I need to make tutorials for myself just in case. So tonight, we have recalculations. First time out of the gate, and me, I picked the dullest topic in the whole known universe, at least to me. But I've never regretted knowing a thing, and here we are. What I love, for real, is this stage of the project where you try out several things to see what you like, then go back to the drawing board. Which, if I were half smart, I would remember is on this other page, where I've also been very, very busy in learning things and going back to scratch from. And there is the drawing board. And you go back to it with the ideas you liked best without the going back part feeling like a setback. It's one of those few areas in life where you actually do get a do-over. So all the way back to the beginning it is. For me, the beginning is a need to try my hand at world building. I've found some great advice online, covering seemingly every possible pro and con of different approaches. I've found the Kobold Guide to World Building invaluable. I'll probably stray farther from advice rather than nearer to it, though, so where my approach fails, it is by no means the fault of these authors or any others. There's plenty of reasons to take on the challenges of world building. Some reasons center around gaming, some around game development, whether board, card, or video, and some revolve around writing. Over time, I hope to tend to all those reasons, but my primary need is for a richly developed fantasy world as the anvil against which to beat a stubborn plot into shape. Some will think my approach overkill. I agree. But I think it's perfect for what I'm trying to accomplish, so we'll see. It just happens that the next scene in the story... What story, you might wonder? It starts with the vision. Requires an entire world to illustrate it. The muse has not budged on that point. So when I say I'll be world building from the ground up, that's pretty literal. So far, as I've been feeling my way around the design processes in GIMP, I've either not paid enough attention to resolution or just made the assumption that more is better. I'm mending my ways. First, I forgot to consider the various applications for the images I create. First, they're illustrations to the story, that's unfolding before me very, very slowly. The muse gave me the beams and girders, but I have to skin the building for myself, and she likes pictures. Lots of pictures. If I'm going to end up with a decent illustration, I've got some things to figure out more coherently than I'd managed on that first seat of my pants approach. Flat map I can do, sure. But a globe? As it turns out, I only just discovered the exact perfect tool I need for that immediate goal. A picture of a globe of Eon, the whole planet, suspended in space before the viewer. Planet Maker. I mean, just look at that. That is just amazing. That tool looks like it is going to be then Planet Maker. By all means, check out the site and play around. It's a blast. While I'm at it, on their About page there, one great feature for the creative artist on a shoestring budget like me is right here. And did I not pick a color? There we have a color. We got a nice red color. We tell it, okay, come on, color already. Right here is the juicy bit. The permissions are most generous. Use of any images generated under Planet Maker are free for your use in any medium. I just ask that attribution accompany the image when used in articles or where possible. This will allow others to be able to find attribution and credits of the sources of data used within Planet Maker. And just look at those sources. Those sources are just spectacular. I mean, there's so much NASA in there, it's not even funny. So let's X out of that. Hello. Close that apparently. Alrighty, we'll get the hang of this. Now, as you can see, and I need my little red pen back. Yes, yes, sure. Over here in the Scene tab, which you can close the pen. That's not very useful. And open it back up under Texture Resolution. We find that they've got a maximum resolution of 4096 by 2048. That's a peculiar aspect ratio from what I've seen, 4K 2:1. But it's the one that apparently works best for wrapping around a spheroid. So Planet Maker did me a huge favor by establishing a target resolution for me. It's just that weird aspect ratio. My next application for the images is as desktop wallpaper. Partly because I like wallpapers, and partly as one of the premiums for my Patreon supporters. But what makes a good wallpaper aside from image? Turns out, size matters. Some wallpaper is too small for decent centering, or doesn't tile well, or is distorted noticeably when stretched to fit. As it turns out, there are so many size options to consider if one is to cater to all the devices out there, from the oldest smartphone to the latest, to tablets, to laptops, and to larger and larger desktop monitors, to big screen TVs and high-end advertising displays, that I'm going to end up selecting just one as a template size from which I can size down as need arises. But which? This decision also depends on my third intended application. I want the maps I create to display well on inset game table TV displays. I mean, just look at that. What an amazing idea, and I'm only just now learning of them. Nuh-uh. Licensing reasons. And as a budding wood butcher, you know, building one of these behemoths is definitely what I'm tooling up for. And now I'm getting somewhere. I know the aspect ratio I'm looking for is 16:9. So I looked at what other people are doing with wallpapers. Duh! Looks like the current trend is toward Ultra HD 4K and beyond. One wacky metric I like to use for things is the number of search results. Whoopsie, there we go. 56 million results for HD wallpapers. That's 19 by 20 by 1080, hence the 1080p you've heard of, undoubtedly. And 2.56 million for Ultra HD and 4K wallpapers, which are 3840 by 2160. For that matter, in January of 2016, just a hair over a year ago, Just Creative mentioned Apple's Retina series with a high-end resolution of 5K, 5120 by 2880. That's the 2.6 million we're looking for. There we go. The 1 million. 1 million images already out there. Well, 1 million results in the search engine, I should say, already out there for images in this 5K resolution. And Sharp, as you might have noticed, has 8K, 7680 by 4320, and there's already over 500,000 results for that size. Common sense tells me that a gaming enthusiast that parts with the kind of money that goes into such a table, as makes me drool a little, might skimp and outfit it with an HD screen, and it would look great. But others might want to go to the 4K route, which is even greater. One day, maybe I'll be serving the 32K community of the dystopian future. For now, I have two sizes to consider, 1080p or HD, which will blur a little if scaled to 4K or to Planet Maker, or do I go with 4K? That will size down to 1080p just fine, and when it's finally time to wrap the image in Planet Maker, the y-axis resolution will downsize a bit, while the x-axis will only distort a little horizontally. I could go with 5K, but the monitors are small and new tech expensive. And there aren't yet 5K TVs that I know of, at least not at Amazon. 4K Ultra HD is it. And since I think it would be entirely reasonable to drop a 43-inch Ultra HD 4K TV into a tabletop when they're only $300 new, well-reviewed off-brand should be perfectly fine for the purpose, especially given the angle and the protective plexiglass involved. This looks like a decision that makes itself. 3840 by 2160 it is. Next up, how big is Eon anyway? And maybe I'll see the wisdom in learning how to add links to these screencasts just to make your life easier. And, well, if we're being honest here, psst, hey buddy, want to buy a watch? What's a little affiliated sale between an artiste and his adoring audience? Hold on. Are you there? Wait, what? Not recording? Ah!